you guys to like share their information. But one of the
like, boom, one shot, right? This is so gnarly. This is so off-putting. I'm sorry. I'm trying my best. So also as well, replay. You know what? I've got myself on mute, so I have no idea why it's doing this. Replay is a concept of placeholders. So in Burp Suite, you get them in Intruder, and they're called positions. So like you do like your classic IDE exploit, and you get like the ID and the parameter, and you like put in like a list of numbers, and you go like 0 to 1,000, and you just like let it rip, and then you like realize you look for the 200, and then you're good. It's okay. I can kind of hear myself, so I'm fine. So what Caido does is that it actually uses placeholders in replay and automate, which is Burp Suite Intruder. And the reason why I mention this and the reason why it's really important or really useful is, first of all, like if you ever do like AI reteaming, like a lot of times you work with things like encoding and things like that. This allows you to do it in repeater, first of all, so you're not having to like only use Intruder or like right click and then like use some kind of plugin to convert the string into like into a payload encoded format. But one of the most important and like really useful things here. So if anyone's familiar with like testing a web app where you get like a unique CSRF token on every single request, so therefore you cannot use Intruder without doing like a bunch of like macros, is it, or something like that? Super painful. There's like one blog online. It took me ages to understand it, and then I was like, awesome at it. So like, let's take that same example, and you have CSRF token refreshing because it's like a really just like lockdown target or whatever. So what you can actually do is Caido, I haven't discussed it yet, but Caido has a concept of environment variables. So you can store sensitive or plain text environment variables, just like environment variables work, right? So like, let's say you've got like a session ID, which is that session that we just talked about. You can also switch out environments as well. So if you have a different type of environment variables, you can just like literally swap them in, swap them out, which is also like super nice as well. So again, the simple key value stores, but like what we're doing here is I'll cover workflows in a second, but workflows are a way to kind of like comparison of like a Burp Suite Lambda, but they come with like a built-in UI, so you can actually, you don't have to like write JavaScript code and then like guess and then find out it fails and then try again and iterate on that. You can actually just build like workflows using like, if anyone's used like N8N, is it Node, whatever it is, it's like a very similar kind of architecture to like Leaf kind of architecture where you can just like plug them in, export it, copy the code, like upload it to GitHub, like send a PR, like send it to a friend, whatever, right? But the idea here is what this piece of JavaScript code, which is just plugged into the workflow on the right, is actually it's looking at a certain request, and then it's actually looking for that session ID. And if the session ID is unique, then effectively updates the environment variable. So whilst you're like browsing through the application, this workflow, this passive workflow is ripping through all your traffic, and it's dynamically updating the session variable. And then in your replay placeholder, you just literally put the placeholder, aka the position around the session ID, and then you choose type environment variable, and you just choose the environment variable which is dynamically uploaded. Does that make sense? I'll take it. No, I didn't explain that well. Happy to explain further. The credit to Justin as well. Justin Gardner, aka Rhinorator, that was his one of his case studies, and it kind of blew my mind. I thought it was really impressive. Anyway, kind of workflows. So workflow generation with AI. Justin again actually built a workflow developer GPT. There's a public link, so if you've got an OpenAI account, you'd have to pay for it or anything like that. this has been trained on like a lot of Caido documentation, so it's like a good place to start. Like all this kind of stuff has been thought through by the developers to help people and influence people to contribute and be able to easily write code as well, right? Like it's not like here's like Java SDK and be like go write Java. So yeah, that's really useful. And then also like you can add, so because it's a client server architecture, there's like developer docs, so you can give like, if you use like Cursor, personally I don't really use like AI coding too much, but you can throw in the front end, back end, so like all this kind of information is kind of given to the model's context, and it is not like to tell you to do this, but it's just to help you if you're like not very comfortable with coding, and just if you want to create something or you just want to experiment with something, it's like an easy gateway for you to do that. So Caido workflows, again, like using, there's a lot of shortcuts for workflows as well. So you can plug in a workflow, like that's a passive workflow or an active workflow. Let's say you want to like base64 decode a string or encode a string, you can literally do that through shortcuts. But again, I like keyboard and hands kind of mentality. And I don't know what anyone else is. I love command palette on any single application because it's super nice. Because again, it's like not having to like mess around with the mouse. It's just like Command K, and instantly I've got access to be able to shift into any tab I want, or like do it like perform a search and anything like that. The even better plugin that I mentioned before, it has a setting, and you can actually add your workflows to the command palette. So if you've got like a custom workflow, like the one I was showing you earlier, it's literally like Command K, workflow, select. So much easier, right? Another case study here is like doing HTTPQL plus workflows. So like in a workflow, you can actually use a HTTPQL query as well, and that can be part of your actual workflow as well. So like look at all requests containing the current user and the ID in body, and then you can do like a very sophisticated HTTPQL. And the idea here is that like I'm creating a finding, which is like you know, like when you do like a scan in burp and you get like findings, or what I think it's called findings, and you get like kind of like a little notification. Same kind of thing here. So like I'm building like maybe a complex query of something, like I'm maybe expecting something to pop at a late stage. I can actually plug this query into a workflow, and then I can create a finding when that workflow triggers. So like I might be just browsing one day and I get this finding, and I'm like, okay, that's interesting because that's matched this like filter that I set earlier. And actually it's kind of like helped me a few times. Caido M&R, so M&R is just match and replace. So I'll let's discuss a quick one. Cool. So I'll go through another case study here. And so again, this one was from Justin, and it was from his talk when he presented a similar one. I kind of stole his slides, to be honest, and added my own kind of flavor to it. But a case study on match and replace rules and why they can be really important and really powerful, and kind of like trying to distill what I was saying earlier about helping you focus on exploiting vulnerabilities and not getting kind of lost in the weeds. So let's take an example where Google, if anyone's like hacked on Google before, they have RPC IDs, and those RPC IDs are like random like cipher strings, like maybe 5-6 digit strings, and they're super random and you have no idea what it is. So like when you're browsing a web application, you're seeing loads of these RPC requests, you're seeing like a bunch of different cipher strings, and you have no idea what actual RPC requests are actually doing what in the browser. that's actually I guess like a security mitigation from developers, because they're kind of obfuscating what's actually happening underneath the application, so you can't actually see what's happening with those raw requests, right? So the idea here was what Justin was actually kind of hacking on this application, and he was kind of like, right, I'm really lost. Like, I don't understand anything that's going on here. Like, I'm actually going to take some time to do some like recon and understand this application and help me understand it and kind of see what's going on under the hood. So first thing he did, so he creates a workflow here. So effectively what he's doing is looking for a regular expression for the cipher string. So the cipher string matches a certain regex group, which is like this kind of complicated thing here. So like, I think it's like 5 or 6 characters. It could be numbers, uppercase, lowercase. Looking at the interceptor response, running the JavaScript on it, and then basically it's creating, it's creating RPC IDs and translating them. So it's storing a library. So these are all the RPC IDs that are occurring in the application. This is what the regex string looks like. And you can see like it's updating those user preferences there. So now we have an environment, we have, oh, sorry, one thing I missed here. Sorry, I'm having to flip between like multiple screens. Sorry, guys. All right, so let me get back in. So the highlighted part of the code is the second and final step of the match and replace. So that kind of little box there, but it's kind of blurry, I think, and I apologize if so. But while the script was collecting the RPC IDs, the script is the one that actually uses the data to modify and clarify the web traffic. So it's like basically a replacement engine. So it's loading the dictionary that was built earlier, and then it's looping through those mappings, and it's finding and replacing for each mapping. It's actually giving the underlying thing. So like update user profile, change language, like all these little RPC IDs. So now you know when you're running this workflow exactly what is actually occurring, so you can actually make sense of all these requests, and then you can actually therefore, like as a pen tester or whatever, actually then try to abuse that. And essentially what this code is doing is making the purpose of each request instantly readable, so you can actually see what the heck was going on. And then this script actively uses a dictionary of mappings that the first script created by searching outgoing requests for each cryptic ID. When it finds a match, it appends the corresponding human-readable path directly to the request URL, instantly clarifying the API calls true purpose within the proxy tool. So like this one's like Bard front-end service update user preference, which is like some kind of like Google Bard preferences for some kind of AI feature, right? You can like at least make sense of what this is actually doing rather than saying like C1X5B and you're like, what the hell is this, right? And then here's our, oh, sorry. Oh, yeah, here we are, sorry. Dictionary. And then in our match and replace, we're replacing the regex for that value with the environment variable that we stored earlier. And then after, you will have something like, so before you would have this, which is, can you see my mouse? No, you can't. But before, like, you would see this, and you have no idea what the heck this is. So like, how the heck are you supposed to like pen test this? Now it's actually updating this. So for each of these ciphers that you see, it actually has a human readable string, so you can actually understand what's going on. I'm more than happy to clarify that in the slides. Slides are already uploaded, but that's like a really cool case. And personally, I don't know any other tool that is capable of doing something that complex. It honestly sounds really complex, but once you understand how workflows work and you've like tested a few, it's actually honestly pretty simple. With like huge kudos to Justin for actually just taking that intuition. I think it's really impressive. So okay, I realized why. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm clicking between screens and it's so painful, and I think I've not uploaded all my slide deck. Case study of match and replace it, stringing it all together. So to summarize effectively, the process begins when a HTTP request is response is received. The script immediately starts looping through the response's text. It uses a regex to hunt for a specific code pattern, aka that cipher string. Each time a match is found, the script extracts the key, aka the RPC ID, and the value, which is the descriptive path, the human readable bit, and it saves that pair into a shared environment variable, and then continues that loop on each one. So easy way of being able to create yourself a bit of a dictionary and understand how the heck this is actually working. Cool plugins like drop. She said drop. The plugin's actually called drop. So first cool plugin, there's honestly a bunch and I could go on about them forever. But the first one is Drop, which was created by Justin. I kind of touched on it earlier. It's awesome. One thing I thought would actually be really cool is if anyone's like very kind of active in bug bounty, like when you're like writing a submission and then the triage people come back to you and they're like, hey, I can't replicate this. Like if you imagine the potential this unlocks, like if the triage people were to use this, you don't have to like copy a request into and then build a little like HTTP markdown block in your submission and like copy and paste it. You can just be like, here's my PGP key, here's a request, boom, like instantly, right? But yeah, so I could say drop is easy collaboration within Caido. You get a share code, you create an alias, it all works on PGP. There are a bunch of servers available for you to use, or you can actually use your own hosted if you prefer, and obviously totally respect that. So the idea, like, you guys have got this weird request, like, what do you think of it? And honestly, like, really bridges the gap between collaboration and like just makes it so seamless. Of course, like everyone has to be using Caido to obviously take advantage of this feature. But drop enables easy collaboration with a fully end-to-end encrypted. Immediately after install, drop allows you to share the following with like one click. So we've got you can share it from replay, HTTP history, scopes, and filters. So you can actually share replay tabs, match and replace rules, scopes, filters. And there's also a roadmap for sharing workflows, files, bindings, and HTTPQL queries as well. So like so much like copy and paste data in, data out processing is alleviated with this. Drop is, oh yeah, sorry. So if you want to also host your own server as well, so we have like instructions for that. But like I said, there's a bunch of hosted that you can also use as well if you want to host your own PGP server, especially for like sensitive environments or things like that. Oh, and sorry, I'm kind of, well, I don't have all my slides here, but you'll see the drop 2. in the like kind of top right of all the screenshots, it's literally as simple as just like clicking that drop down and then selecting the person you want to drop it to, which is the person, like a bunch of people that you've shared your PGP key with. Won't be AI, won't be a talk if we didn't talk about AI. Caido has a plugin called Shift. The idea of Shift and Caido is to make you awesome. I'm kidding, but I'm not kidding. Shift is an integrated Caido feature. You get a bunch of like AI credits, kind of similar to Burp, if anyone uses Burp Suite, and it's a use of the Burp AI features. Has access to a bunch of models. It's got like Anthropic, Claude, Gemini, OpenAI, Quen, DeepSeek, and a few others. But it works on open routers, so there's like a bunch of like different models you can test with in different sizes. And Shift is really cool. So literally to engage Shift, you just hit Shift and space. It pops through the context menu. The AI system has tool capabilities with all Caido. It has context of the current window and every other window that you're in. And you can get it to do the thing like endless, I guess, at this point. So like a common example is you can like generate, match, and replace rule to make this true. And the model has access to call tools, which can then create a match and replace rule for you. So again, you're not even having to like build your own match and replace rules at this point, right? Obviously, as long as the AI system gets it right, but I've had like nothing but positive results from my side. Full transparency. Yes, sir.
Wait, so if you use AI to generate the match replace, you have the match replace window open, like maybe minimized. And like after you generate the match replace action, like does it update the UI? Like does it make the update to your?
Yeah, so like you can go into match and replace, and then you'll see the updated match and replace rule. So you can then like validate it. Is that what you mean? Oh. It's not like MCP, but it's like an MCP experience, as in it will literally like call the tool and pull up the tab and then create the match and replace rule. Hope that answers the question.
Like, okay, I guess like when you say like the AI model has like full access to Caido kernels, like
well, it has access to like it has access to
like read
with tools.
Like, in terms of how we can like modify Caido. Like I'm assuming when you say access, read.
Yeah, like it has access, like it can call tools. So instead of tools like get weather, it's like tools are like replay, automate, match and replace, like those tools that have been created in the backend in Caido. So when the model is invoked, it's just given a function, and the function is match and replace rule creation or something like that. Yeah. I don't know why it's really small. One other really nice thing as well is that it's enabled by default, but I don't know if anyone else, like I personally, I rename all my replay tabs because I'm like really OCD, and I hate when you see like you've got like verb repeater and you've got like all your requests, and it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you're like, oh my god, this is like anxiety. You have to click through them all, see what's going on. Shift has a really cool feature where the AI, you can set a system prompt and the AI system will rename your replay tab for you automatically. So like you can give the system prompt as, sorry, I'm jumping ahead. Another example is here. So if you've got like a huge response, as you can see here, and there's like, all this is like a bunch of feature flags, and it's like super messy and super clunky. So you take all this context, you hit shift and space, you invoke shift, and you say, make one match and replace rules to turn all of these feature flags to true. The feature flags are controlled by the Boolean in the third index of the nested arrays, which is just from what you can see in the request. Match the number starting with 4, then null, then Boolean, and change all your values to true. So like an easy way of getting like maybe 100 feature flags, creating like a match and replace rule, which would turn them all to true, which may unlock like, you know, new elements of a site that you didn't have access to before, like a common technique you would use as a web app pen tester or something like that. And then, yeah, and now this is like you go into match and replace and you can see the match and replace rule that's being created. You can also run HTTPQL query on the match and replace as well, and you're also able to live test those as well. Same thing with workflows. When you're actually running it, you can like put in your own request. You can test it, and you can make sure that your actual match and replace rule or your workflow is actually working. So you actually get some kind of like verification before you then like enable it. This is what I was mentioning. So AI-assisted replay tab naming as well. So auto rename your replay tabs for you. So instead of like you see like the 1, 2, 3, 4 ABC, it's like super gross. This is like an example. So we literally give instructions which are set, which you can set like your own custom. And effectively what it's doing is it says include the HTTP verb and a concise version of the path in the tab name. Focus on the end of the path, include only the first 4 characters of ID, i.e. get API version 1 users ID profile. And it will go through, I should have had a slide to show that, but it will literally go through and follows the exact instructions. And again, I can demonstrate that. But again, just like save you having to do that, it's like super painful, right? So it's really nice. Shift agents. So Shift was created a while ago. Is a plugin. So the idea is that it's like giving you access to AI within like kind of every single element of Caido, whereas Shift Agents actually focuses on the replay tab and actually comes with Caido. So you don't need to install the plugin. It's just like hot loadable, and it enables you to build micro agents or sub agents, whatever you want to call it. So you'll see in the top left, you've got this agent button here when we're in replay, and it'll open up a chat window. So when you do this, you as well, sorry, I forgot to mention, but when you're using Caido, you can add information to the model's context. So like you're building up a system context. So like that could be like a request from like 2 weeks ago that includes a cookie. And you can be like, this is the cookie that this endpoint generates, or something like which you as a hacker, you understand that, right? And then you carry that knowledge into the following steps. Like you have something, and then you see something different, and you're like, okay, there's something going on here, for example. So you're adding all this information to the model's context. This context is invoked when you open up the chat window with the Shift agent. So we're in replay, we have a request, we open up the chat window, and we give the agent a task. So you can also build your own methodology as well. So like I say, you can like hot load a bunch of different models. So you can even compare model performance if you want, or run different models asynchronously. And then you can create context and system prompts for each individual like attack vector. For it's like a really simple example. So you could create like a cross-site scripting agent, SRF agent, path traversal, SQL injection, like whatever you want. And then you don't have to keep writing unique system prompts every time, right? Like you are with a pentest, blah, 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 blah. And to give an example, like this is what something really simple would look like for building a methodology. So like test primarily reflective XS due to the nature of this running in replay, which doesn't have a headless parameter. So you like literally give the model like a simple prompt. Give it the target, and this is kind of like just like literally a dump of the inputs and outputs from the model from like my own testing and stuff. But you can see like the model was trying to like iterate on those inputs, and if this loads, no, it's not. Okay, sorry, it's not loading. It's because StreamYard was a bit wonky and I had to upload a PDF of my slides to demonstrate it. But let me come back to that. It's just like a little demo of Shift agents and how they work, or I can show you to you live as well. Some other plugin mentions, and also I kind of wrote down a bit of a comparison for anyone who's like really in love with the Burp plugins, and I totally get it, so don't worry about it. I've got you. So yeah, the idea is just to wrap up and just give you a few ideas of other cool plugins. There's so many, and they're all like, honestly, one thing I actually really like is that I've submitted my own plugins to Burp and to Caido. And I felt like the Caido ones were a lot stricter, but I kind of respect that because I feel like they're looking for a lot of content and quality. And when you actually maybe submit a plugin, the first feedback I got was like, "Can you do this in a workflow?" It's like at the time, I'm like, damn. I really wanted to like have my name on there, and then I actually realized when I actually read the workflows documentation, I was like, wow, this is actually so much better than I intended, and it actually made me better. So I'm actually so thankful for that. But yeah, we've got Squash, which is like Copier from Tiberius, if anyone's used that. So it's an idea of like when you're submitting submissions, like it removes things like your cookies and all that kind of thing. You can set a set of rules on that. So every time you squash a request, it's like making a really compact version of it. So like when you're copying and pasting it into a pentest report or something, it's not like super clunky, and you have to then like copy it and then delete that text. 403 bypasser, which is self-explanatory, works very similar to other 403 bypassers in Burp. Param Finder, which is like the equivalent of Param Miner, which was created by James Kettle and like was personally one of my favorites. When I saw that in Caido, I was like, that's really sweet. And just confirm, sorry, this is not the exact same source code, it's an implementation of. Auth Matrix, which is very similar to Authorize, which is a really simple way of like being able to test things like IDE. And then data graph, which is self-explanatory. There's Chat.io and also Epka, which are two other like AI plugins that people have created, and it's very similar to like Shift, but offers different elements. I honestly can't speak to them too much because I haven't had a chance to use them as much yet. JWT Analyzer. So if you're looking to like manipulate a JWT token, we have like Amma created a really lovely one, plugin where you can identify vulnerabilities in JWT tokens. One other thing that Amma created, if anyone's familiar with the channel, I actually really recommend it, is AmmerSec, AMRSEC. There's like really good content. He's a really, really cool dude. But he has one called Redux. So what you do is you import an open API schema, and then what it'll do is it'll automatically create replay tabs for each individual request in the API. So you don't have to go into like Postman or Insomnia or whatever it is and send each request and capture it in the proxy and then send it to Repeater. It'll just literally import all those replay tabs for you. And then you get like the shift element to rename them all to whatever context, and you've literally just been able to import an open API schema directly into Caido like within a minute. It's awesome. Oh, and sorry, JX Scout as well. I started using that. It's absolutely fantastic. Couple of ones I'm going to shamelessly drop my own plugins. I've actually built one called CSP Auditor, which is good. What's the CSP one called in Burp? I'm not sure. Anyway, it's integrated with CSP bypass, so it comes with like 210 payloads, I think, at the moment. Where effectively, when you're browsing through the application, it'll do analysis on all the CSP headers, and then it will give you like findings. And it'll then give you bypass payloads based on the findings that it's found, and then you can literally test those elements like straight away. So you can get like CSP bypasses, and then Bytecap is another plugin that I built. The reason why I did that is when I've been doing pen testing for a certain organization, when I have to upload my like, evidence files, they only enable like a 2 gig file limit, which was like super irritating, and I was like really worried that my like project files were going to exceed that, and I was like, how am I going to like split that? And if I can't zip it, then it's like such a pain in the ass. This I can literally just set like a threshold on it, and it will warn me stop logging when it hits a certain size, so I don't exceed that. And that was just like a personal like thing that I came across, and I did a bit of like coding, and it honestly took me like just a few hours. So it was really simple, and I'm not a developer. Someone with their laptop. Thanks. And again, there's another GPT developer assistant. So again, this is all these like GPTs have been like going to sound really privacy, especially trained on Caido SDK documentation. But no, it's just like an easy way to get like started with a plugin, unless you use like Claude Code or whatever kind of preferences on that. Again, I've uploaded the slide, so all these links are available because I know it's really difficult to read that. One thing is if anyone wants to hang around, I'll happily go through, like, I'll happily answer any questions. I'll happily do any demos if anyone's got a laptop and actually wants to give it a go. Caido actually published online self-hosted labs like yesterday, which is fantastic timing, and they didn't actually do it for me, but I'm going to claim it anyway. But there's a bunch of labs. There's like 8, really intuitive, but the great thing is it's just an easy way to like spend like 5 minutes doing a lab, not getting super invested, not having to create an account, and it forcing you to use Caido's features to solve each challenge. So it just helps you on board with Caido, really simple. Outside of that, in terms of any other resources, just in terms of like stuff that I read and I value, Caido has an awesome Discord community, and then we have like a channel for each plugin. So if you need like plugin support, or we have just like a general banter channel, it's a great place to hang out. The Critical Thinking Bug Bounty podcast, which is Justin and Rezo, anyone listens to it, those guys are awesome. I listen to it religiously. Everyone in there uses Caido as well, so it's super nice because it's almost like another way just to get cool tips and stuff for people. And then my friend Andrew actually created a really good bug crowd. It's actually posted on bug crowd, but it's a blog on how to become the ultimate beginner to Caido. That's a really, really nice blog. And with that, sorry for the weird slide issue. I'm done. Thank you for listening. Thank you very much. Oh, and like honestly, I'm generally not. I'm totally respect whatever. If you want 20%, use my handle on checkout for Caido if you want. If you want to use free version, whatever, it's totally cool. Yeah. Any questions? Sorry, yeah, this gentleman first. Probably poorly.
Is there anything like have like a Python script workflows where it can just cycle through like massive requests and more like cross and token reuses?
It's a really good question. There's not at the moment. I'm sure it's on the roadmap, like because when they initially first started out, they had like a set of plugins which were deemed like the higher order plugins which they need to like replicate in there. I'm personally unsure of like a turbo intruder comparison. I'm sure there is, but I generally think you could at least get through some kind of workflow and some kind. I'd be interested to know what you're trying to do, unless it's just like a general topic. But I'm sure there's something you can do similar. But I wouldn't be. I'd be very shocked if it wasn't like really close.
You were talking about like environment sort of logical sense.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, I'll have a look in the repo, and I'm sure there's an issue for it. I'm sure someone's like working on it. But yeah, it's a really good question. And honestly, actually, kind of saying this is that the hardest thing for me is that everyone I speak to, and I don't go around like shopping Caido, I just generally I enjoy it and I love it, and that's kind of my story of why I'm here. Just trying to help anyone and try and influence any knowledge that I can, because it's made me a lot better. But I was like really torn, so I would use like burp and then Caido, and I was like, oh, this is stupid because I've got like 2 different like project files and I've got like upload them. And then once I started to see the power, and I relied less on plugins, and don't get me wrong, obviously you need a plugin for certain stuff like Brand Miner or something like that. Like, you totally respect that. But when I realized like the benefits plus the plugins currently available, and like there's new ones dropping every single day, and at that point I just made the shift, and I honestly haven't opened burp in like probably like 6 months now. I was like a pro user for like forever, and I still think burp's a great product, and I love James and Gareth and everyone like that. But, yeah, it's a really good question. I'm glad you brought it up, because a lot of people are kind of scared to make that leap. If there's any information, is like just to look through the plugin store and try and compare like what you love dearly to you, and try and get that like comparison. But I confidently would say that majority of it are already there, unless it's something you're specifically using. And it's also super easy to create plugins. Like generally, I've got like three Burp Suite plugins. I've got like 1 in Jython and 2 in Kotlin, and it was so painful. And I definitely had to use AI a lot, and it kept getting wrong. This was like, I've created 2, and I've only been kind of like active in the Caido community for like maybe a week. So
yeah. So probably not a great question, but I didn't really understand. We used the Caido tool to determine the BARD service from the RPC ID.
Not a bad question. I probably didn't. It's hard to explain, but
with that one, I would assume that the keys that generate the hashes on the, I would assume they change per session. How are you?
No, that's the logic. So it was like, I'm seeing this like, because obviously you can't remember each individual one. It's like, you're not going to remember like 100 different cipher strings, but you see that like one of that pattern. And this is not like a feature or anything. It's just something that I really admire from Justin's work. And he was like, well, to like hack this, I need to understand what it's doing, because all this stuff doesn't make sense to me. So that's when he built that like environment variables, and he realized he could do the match and replace. He was actually able to put like a human readable path on it, and then at that point you've literally got an end-to-end, and then the workflow is running on every request. So when Wave starts to collect those cipher strings, and you then know which one, every single subsequent request is like cipher string X, user preference, cipher string Y, send email, I don't know, whatever. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It seems really complicated, and honestly, it's harder to explain in like Google slides. It's probably not a good speaking thing that I just want to talk about.
Part of my understanding is how did the BARD get exposed at all? Like, the whole point was to obfuscate information.
Oh, so it's so like commonly APIs will use RPCs, and they'll use an RPC ID, but the ID will be like what the actual RPC is. So it's just literally a security mechanism by like Google in this instance for BARD, where they're able to like obfuscate it. So someone who didn't do this would get really put off because they see all these random cipher strings and they're like, I don't know what this is doing, and it makes it so much more difficult to hack on it. It's not exposing a hash which is a secret. It's just hashing a value to make something not visible to you, which makes it for you harder to hack that. Does that make sense? It's like the comparison is like, you know, if you're testing like an IDE and you get like a 404, and you're like, okay, I kind of feel like that's the application which is sending, the function is sending a 404 response on purpose, because it's not sending a 403, because a 403 immediately tells you that there is a permission barrier behind that, and then you start to like manipulate parameters, or you start like trying cookie poisoning or something like that. It's just like that's like a comparison of what I think in my head. Like it's like security through obscurity as a developer. Yeah. So no worries. Cool. Well, thank you everyone for coming. I guess we're just gonna hang out for a bit. Yeah, and we can go through like Caido labs if anyone wants. Like, I didn't have anything like super prepped, but I'm happy to answer any questions. If anyone's got like a laptop, like feel free to fire it up. And yeah, we can just jump. Like, I need to leave by like 8:30, I think. But I'm totally free till then. And yeah, thank you for everyone coming. I really appreciate it. Oh, I do. Oh, there's also like I put some like stickers out. If anyone wants stickers, if anyone also wants some coasters, and I also have